The first rule in grip sport is you tell everyone about grip sport.
Crushing, pinch grip, thick bar, wrists.
If the best guy in the world can't lift 100 pounds on it, I don't give a shit about it.
We recently spoke with Sarah Chapello, who was the women's overall winner for the North American Grip Sport Championship. And now we have the overall men's winner from the great state of Ohio, Jason Dingey. So welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, Zach.
And so I know that in the past you've won nationals and other stuff like that. Have you ever competed in the North Americans before? Or was this the first time that you've made that trip?
First one.
Okay.
We were ready to go in 2020. Eric had it planned. And then you know what happened. But
yeah. Flatten the curve.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Just a couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Flatten the curve. Jed will like that one. So with all that being said, how did you feel with the preparation going up into this? Because you've been really active. You've done, a ton of competitions. There hasn't really been much of a break for you from competition to competition. How did you feel going into this one?
Pretty good. I mean, I had a middle finger injury on right hand. Missed a couple workouts in the last couple weeks leading up to it, but it turned out okay. It was killing me on a little bighorn. I had to use my left instead for the contest. Other than that, it didn't. It turned out fine. But I was a little worried, Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if this is the case for you, but for me, sometimes on like Little Bighorn, when you're, it's a vertical lift, so like it's trying to like pull down, but it'll almost like roll my finger or like my tendons. It almost gets my hand in a weird spot sometimes. I don't know if your injury was maybe something along those lines, like in your finger or something like that. But I get certain points on certain V-bar lifts when it starts to almost like pull my finger like sideways and my finger will kind of rotate and it starts to like kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it was a rotation because it started hurting after a pinch day.
Okay.
Originally is when I heard it. But
and
then again, it started hurting on, the napalms, both of those it hurt on. So I had to miss a couple workouts. But anyway, it was all right.
All right. And with that, everybody, at least in the sport, definitely knows you're a very well-rounded competitor because you've competed so many different competitions and so many different things that you do. But from grippers to thick bar to pinch, there's really not one thing. If we look at Jason Dingey as a lifter, there's not really one thing that we can say like, oh, he's kind of weak here, and that's where you're really going to gain big points. So as long as you're on your game, it's really hard for it's really hard for anybody to beat you. With this event lineup, how did you feel about these events going into it, kind of knowing what they were? Was there any event that you like kind of knew you were going to win, or was there certain events that you were kind of like, man, I just got to stay close enough to the top and not give up too many points? What was your thoughts about the full event lineup?
I was worried about the wrist wrench, especially. I just didn't think I'd do that well on it compared to I've seen a few other people, their numbers, and I wasn't much over 100 pounds. I did get like 107, the week before the contest. But I thought, I'm still probably a good 10 pounds away from maybe where I need to be. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I was worried about that one. Then Little Bighorn, kind of worried about those two.
and then let's just say if we just kind of go through we just run down kind of just some of the stats real quick. For Silver Bullet, you took second place, I believe, in that event. And if what I'm reading is correct, it was a number 4 gripper and you did 16 seconds with it.
Yeah.
And with these being a new set of grippers, do you remember what that was rated at?
212.
212. Okay. And I'm assuming that's probably pretty average or pretty standard for a number 4, or it's a.
Yeah.
I'm not like a gripper expert, um, but yeah, and that no, so that probably at least established, a good starting point for you. You're right there at the top within a couple seconds. Took second place, and then
Well, we were allowed 2 attempts on Silver Bullet.
okay,
And I thought about taking I was planning on taking the second, and then I was like, nah, I ain't gonna.
yeah,
I didn't think I could get another 3 seconds on it to go past Jalen.
yeah, and next event being the Napalm Nightmare 2 3/8 handles, and this one you won pretty convincingly, right? Is that correct on that one, or am I
No,
off?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, uh,
Maybe I'd have to see what.
I think Eric and uh, Trey, I think both did 186.
Okay,
We were taking 6 kilo jumps, pretty big jumps on that. So I think they
okay,
both made 186 and they both missed 192, and I made it.
yeah. So you made that next jump. So
But I was surprised. I thought Eric was going to win that. I thought for sure he'd be ahead of me.
Eric's really good at that event. Just that size, that diameter.
Yeah.
He's very strong at
I'm
that.
better
So
at 2 inch than 2 3/8, but yeah.
yeah. So that I mean
And then
that's
it didn't pay to try anymore. I mean, I would make the next jump, but
yeah.
for the reverse strongman scoring, that's what
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter how much you win by, just your placing.
yeah, for anybody that's not aware, sometimes in grip there'll be percentage based scoring, and when you go by percentage, you can kind of really rack up more points or higher percentages on people just by how much you outlift them by. But if you do reverse strongman, it's basically just however you place, and that's what the points are. So there's really no, if you win, you win. There's really no incentive to win bigger. Whereas with percentage based scoring, sometimes how much you win by starts to become a bigger factor. Um, but yeah, so starting off with those first two events, that puts you, with a second place and a first place finish right out the gate. So you probably had to be feeling pretty good about that. But then you get into the double shallow inch pinch, which I don't know how much you had trained with that or what your thoughts were about that, but that's an event that's kind of a mystery for probably a lot of people because I don't know that it's really been like thoroughly contested for have enough data on it. So how did you feel about that?
I thought that actually may be my best event going in,
Okay.
even though I didn't see much data on it. But I think somebody told me Jalen had done 130, and I did 130 the last week,
Mm-hmm.
pretty easily on it. So I was confident going in there. And then the contest implement felt really good, and I ran out of attempts, even though it was last man standing. Eric limited trips to the platform to 6, just to try to, because the event's taken a long time with like 35 people going at it. So
Yeah. And for that, like I said, I'm trying to kind of read off of the spreadsheet here. Um, but did you tie for second on that, or was that just a second place finish
yeah,
there?
I
I think
did.
something like
Yeah,
that.
Jalen won, and then Trey and I both made 60.5 kilos, I think.
Okay, yeah, no, that's right. That's what the numbers
And
are
then
showing.
that was both our
Yeah,
both of our 6 attempts. We were done, and we could have both done a little more anyway. So, but
yeah. It'd be interesting if you had unlimited attempts just to kind of see where that ended up. But still, I mean, at least you're kind of matching or hitting what you did in training, or maybe slightly more. And then once again, you're right there, you know, with with these first couple events jumping off. It's like second place, first place, a tie for second. I mean, you're setting the bar pretty high, and you're putting yourself in a good spot, right out the gate. Then we get to the one where you said, you're worried about the wrist wrench. Um, but here you still were right up there in the running for it. And I believe you tied for second in that event with 52 kilos. And I want to say Eric won that event with 54
yeah,
kilos, if that's correct. Um, So yeah, Eric got you by 2 kilos on that. And then, do you remember who you tied with for second on that? Sorry, I'm trying to look at this thing, but
Probably Trey.
that could be. Yeah, so that
I
puts
think it
both
was
you
him.
guys
Yeah, I think he was the only other
yeah,
one.
tying at second place for the shallow inch pinch and the wrist wrench. So, and then that would pretty much conclude your first day of the competition. And with how you were standing, for my opinion, or just looking at the stats real quick, that would pretty much put you up probably in first place with a decent lead after day one. Um, how did you feel after day one kind of wrapped up?
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
was happy with it.
Like I said, yeah, because you're pretty much first or second in everything. Um, and then everybody knows. I mean, you have a really good pinch. So the napalm pinch blocks, the 3x4 pinch blocks were coming up the next day because it was a 2-day competition. So that next day you had the napalm 3x4 blocks, the little bighorn, and then a 40 item medley. And yeah, I guess just kind of talk about day two and kind of how that went and kind of what you were thinking as it was getting closer to the end because you kind of knew you were up on some points, but you also like grips one of those things. If you kind of do really bad on one event or slip up, with all these scoring and different people, a lot of strong people in the same place, it's you can go from like a first or second place to just falling off real quick with one little
Oh, yeah.
mistake. So, how did you feel kind of about day two?
Well, I felt good about the pinch blocks. I mean, I knew I would be up there on those, but little bighorn, you never know.
Yeah.
Never know the things see. But I mean, everybody's using the same thing at least. But man, I have a lot of get inconsistent on that thing sometimes. So yeah, I'm still worried about that. And I knew I wasn't going to be great in the medley just because not yeah, I'm not built for that thing. 4 minutes and
Running around, like having to
yeah,
like high
there's
step
no
and jump
running
over
around.
top of a bunch of implements.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like Eric went all out with the medley. I mean, 40 items for the men's
No, it's
medley,
crazy. Yeah.
and probably one of the bigger. And I don't know. Like I said, I've done a few medleys myself, but nothing to that extent. So I think that was probably one of the bigger, probably better medleys that there's ever been. I would say.
Yeah, I didn't even train for anything in them specifically in the medley because I'm like, the list is huge and we've already got 6 events to train for. I'm like, I'm not even worrying about
Just
anything in the
lift.
medley. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
do what I can.
yeah, exactly. With one of the things I saw a lot of competitors, at least on the men's side, a lot of people kind of, just my opinion from the few things I saw, it looked like a lot of the guys kind of tried to start off with the double inch lift if they thought they could do it. I think Trey was one of them. I think I saw Eric start off with the double inch lift. Where did you start on the medley? Do you remember kind of where you started at?
Grippers.
You started with grippers.
Yeah, there was
Did
like
you?
a 2.5, a 3, and a little one of those I'm tugs or whatever for with a pinky.
Okay. And did you hit the double inch lift in the medley, or did you even mess with it?
Yeah, with 5 seconds left, I went over and
Okay.
tried it, and I dropped one in my right hand at the top.
Oh man.
That was the only lift in the medley where Eric required a full lockout.
Yeah.
And yeah, I dropped the right hand so I didn't get it.
I was just wondering because I know your double inch lifts are so strong and you can do them thumbless and everything else, but at the end of a giant medley and 2 days of competition or something, maybe just a little bit burnt out. But yeah, I would have assumed that was kind of a give me for you. I figured you just start there and like throw them out of the way and then go on.
Well, there was a lot of stuff that was easy for me on all the way on the other end of the room. So I thought, I'm going to start and get all these done here, and then just work my way over there and whatever. I didn't think I was going to even get to them, but like 5 seconds left, I just tried it.
Well, and that's a good point though too, because it's like when you have the whole room and the whole gym just full of all these different things and they're spread out because you got to kind of maneuver between them. You might have like 12 things in one little group that you're like, I know I can do all those really quick, but over here it starts to get a little bit slower. So that's part of the strategy too, is you're like, you're starting at a certain area of the medley because there's a bigger group of things that you could knock out real quick and kind of save time on. So most people probably take that into consideration, but for anybody that doesn't, if you're doing a medley, the order in which you do the items and then where the items are located also becomes a factor, when it comes down to, I don't know, depending on scoring, but one or two lifts could change the overall or something sometimes. And how you approach a medley, that could just change a lot of stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, you were still right up there for the medley and got 28 out of 40. And if I go by the overall scoring, like I said, it's reverse strongman, so it was the lowest number basically wins through all these events. And you finished with the overall rank of first with 17.5, so 17 and a half points. And I believe Eric was in second place behind you with 30.5. So a pretty good margin there that you won by. And I had a pretty dominant performance, even if maybe it wasn't some of the biggest PRs or the best things you've ever done. You still put together 6 to 7 events that set you apart from everybody else. And like you said, same room, same day, all doing the same stuff. So, how do you feel now that that whole thing is kind of wrapped up and you walked away with the gold and the belt?
No, I mean, I'm very happy. I didn't expect to win the overall at all. Going into it, first I really wanted to win the Masters class first, and then weight class, and then I don't know what I was going to do in the overall.
Is there anybody that you had in mind that you thought was going to win the overall if you didn't think you were going to?
Well, I mean, Jed and Eric are always going to be up there.
Mhm.
Jalen, I thought with the lifts and what I've seen him doing training that he was going to be up there, and he was. And Luke and Jed really came back in the second day and made big moves.
Yeah,
And
especially with the medley.
yeah, I mean, Luke destroyed the medley. Amazing. Yeah, he did like 36 out of the 40.
Yeah. And I forget what Eric was talking about something. Maybe if somebody had done all 40, he was going to try to come up with some kind of prize for him
Yeah,
or
he was
something.
going to do something special, but I mean, it was
Super
pretty
tough.
much impossible.
Yeah. So Luke almost pulled off the impossible, right? But I think he won that event, right? Luke took the medley
Yeah,
overall,
and he
and
won
then
Little Bighorn
he won
too.
Little Bighorn. So yeah, so second day, Luke kind of probably shook up some standings as well because there were some people probably on the podium until Luke had those two performances to finish and close out with, and and that's why I said in grip. I mean, these events, you especially a 2-day competition with 7 different things you're going to get scored on. You really almost can't have a weakness, or you really can't fall off too much in one event because it can almost undo. You could have
Oh yeah,
5 great lifts and then fall off on the 6th lift, and it's like, oh, well, that just bumped me out of contention. So, um, yeah, definitely, probably one of the from a spectator, from my viewpoint as a spectator, probably one of the most stacked competitions and probably one of the biggest competitions as far as having 7 events, 2 days, a 40 item medley, and then knowing how many different people from the US and Canada were there. Probably one of the bigger competitions held in quite some time. Would you agree with that?
oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Probably the biggest one I've ever been in.
okay. Yeah. So, yeah, really, Jason, that mostly kind of, like I said, sums it up. Just wanted to kind of cover your numbers, kind of how you felt from day to day. And yeah, is there anything else regarding the competition that maybe we didn't catch on the live streams or maybe we haven't seen that happened? Like maybe some like post competition feats that were good, or was everybody so tired they're like, I just want to get out of here?
Yeah, I don't think there were really any post competition feats except our boy Will Giuliani was tossing what was it, a blob 50 up in the air, and Jalen was trying to catch it.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
tried that a few times, but everybody was pretty much shot. I mean,
Yeah.
after that medley, 2 days and all that. Yeah, it was. I mean, we were there for eight hours each day. It was.
Yeah.
That's another part of it. I mean, I'm sitting there for over an hour in between events till I'm gonna start warming up for the next one because there's just so many people going.
That's another aspect of it too. When something goes 8 hours, you got to think like, well, I got to be eating at some point. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, nobody wants to go try to like max out on all these lifts and everything on like starving yourself for 8 hours. So it's like a lot of people, it's like, yeah, I got to like eat during this thing or, kind of stay hydrated and stuff like that when it gets to be that long. So I think that is another factor because a lot of competitions, if it's two or three, or no, I would say two events, most competitions are at least minimum of three events, about 3 to 4. But sometimes that can get wrapped up within 3 or 4 hours. So like, you eat before you go there, maybe you snack during it, and then that's like it. But when it's 8 hours, it's like, no, like I'm gonna actually have to have some food, and I'm actually gonna have to probably drink some water during this thing. Um,
yeah. I drank a lot of Gatorade. It was pretty warm too in there.
yeah. Um,
And Eric had snacks and Gatorade and stuff to drink, and cookies and bananas and fruit and all
and
kinds of stuff for us. He did. I mean, he did a fantastic job. I mean,
that's what Sarah kind of had mentioned. It's
unbelievable.
Sarah mentioned that, basically if there was anything that could have been thought of, Eric pretty much thought of it, planned it out, and it was pretty
Yep.
much executed perfectly, which, I mean, we've all competed at numerous competitions in different formats and stuff. And I think everybody kind of understands the challenges when it comes to hosting a competition and making sure that like, oh, we have awards, the judging is going properly, the keeping the stats and keeping track of everything. It can be a lot more than I think a lot of people understand. And for Eric to pull off such a smooth competition of that magnitude, I think definitely it's not surprising to me. I mean, Eric is kind of just a true professional, but that's the feedback everybody's been kind of given is that like for such a big competition and so much going on, Eric really thought through everything and kind of delivered on what he was trying to deliver on, making it a big North American championship. So, um, anything else to add before we close out?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay, so next competition you're eyeing. When's the next time we're going to see you competing?
No, here at the end of the month at Super Series,
Okay. Super Series.
doing that.
And that'll be like stage 1 in June and then stage 2, maybe August. Is that
Yeah.
roughly the schedule? Okay. Um, so is Super Series probably the next event you're going to be working on as far as those two stages? Is there anything in between or, um, I don't know, any other competitions that you're kind of looking at before I know it's like middle of the year, but I know there's always King Kong in October, but is there anything else that you're kind of looking forward to?
The arm lifting world championships I'd like to go to in
Okay.
Vegas this year, and that's like I think the second weekend in October.
All right.
So that's not good timing for King Kong. It's a lot of going on in October, but
Yeah.
that's the one other trip I'd like to make this year.
All right. Well, Jason, thanks for coming on the show and thanks for just kind of giving us your side of everything and congrats on being the champ. You
Thanks.
you were the US Nationals champ not too long ago. Now you got the North American belt. And now to unify the belts when this Nationals rolls around next year when this Nationals rolls around, we're going to have the national champ and the North American champ go head to head and see if we can unify the unify the belts. And
Yeah,
maybe you can take that national belt too back to Ohio. Um,
that'd be
because yeah,
nice.
I think this is just a side note, but I think I heard somebody say that Will Giuliani was talking about how California was like the top in the grip world. But right
What he
now,
says.
yeah, but I think they're overlooking Team Ohio a little bit because right now you got the North American Championship sitting there, and Jed's in Pennsylvania. He took the Nationals, so I don't know. I'm just kind of giving Will a hard time talking about California being the most stacked and the best state because other than I don't know, we could say like Alexi or Carl or something from the maybe on the arm lifting side has won some stuff there recently and didn't do the GSI stuff here, but yeah, I'm more just kind of talking trash. But yeah, we'll have to keep that battle going, little West Coast and East Coast maybe, and kind of see how things keep turning out with that. But yeah, I know I'm trying to trash talking California, saying oh they think they got the strongest guys, but the belts are over here, whatever. But yeah, it's all in fun, and Will's doing a good job with everything with running the Nationals in California and what he did with that too. So yeah, shout out to all those guys out there that are doing that stuff, and then shout out to all the heavy hitters on the East Coast over here, like you and Jed and everybody that are I don't know, keeping it balanced and not letting those guys run off with everything. So yeah, congrats again, and look forward to
Thank you.
seeing what you do in the Super Series. And yeah, I look forward to lifting with you hopefully sometime soon. I might be able to come up in June and lift. I don't know if it'll be for the Super Series per se, but I might at least try to come up, maybe pull off some feats, or at least I don't know, get a session in or lift or something. We'll see. But yeah, that should wrap it up. As long as you're good with that, Jason.
Oh yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, and
Oh, thanks for having me.
we'll be in touch soon. So, yep.
All right.
Enjoy the victory.
Yeah.